Right, welcome guys. Star Wars' biggest problem is the fans. So says Collider. Such nonsense. I saw this and I just thought, my god. Worth a video, innit? Worth a bit of fun. Worth boarding my boat to Nonsense Town and taking a look. So, hit subscribe if you're new here. Turn those bell notifications on. Let's take a look at this epic cope. From Collider, from mainstream media, from dullards. Yeah, I said it. Dullards. Anyway, hit subscribe if you're new here. Turn the bell notifications on. Let's go! Star Wars' biggest problem is the fans. So says Cameron Barnett. Interesting. I wonder if he's got some really well-reasoned and thought-out arguments. Spoiler, he doesn't. Anyway, Star Wars projects have been facing relentless online hate and criticism, impacting performers and creators. Good. Why? Well, maybe it would change the creators' approach to creating content. You know, because it's supposed to serve the fans. Modern Star Wars projects have expanded the universe with diverse representation. Billy D. Williams would like a word. What are you talking about? But also, what? But also weather backlash in the process. Billy D. Williams didn't. In fact, he's one of the most loved Star Wars characters. People love Lando Calrissian. The future of Star Wars should be focused on representation and inclusivity. Should it? Or should it be good storylines? Which so happen to have women in it, black people in it, right? Or whatever else you want to be represented. Surely that should be the focus. Good storylines. No? Apparently not, according to Cameron, with a Y, Barnett. Right, let's take a look. Like I said, spoiler alert, it has no great arguments at all. It's just copes, just bitching and moaning. The salt is flowing, it's great. The internet has never made it easy. Has never made it easy for people to speak their minds. Has never made it easy for people to speak their minds? The internet's made it more easy for people to speak their minds. What are you talking about, boy? Convenience of digital connection aside, there have always been online trolls and toxic comments ready to pounce on anyone who dares to bear their authentic self in public life. Behave, mate. The entire establishment is pro this. The entire establishment is pro all of this shit. And the newest round of controversies and unfounded criticisms. Unfounded? Sorry? Have you had a hemorrhage in your brain? Your frontal lobe or something? What do you mean unfounded? Mate, there's quite a lot that is justified. Directed at Star Wars projects demonstrates that the beloved sci-fi franchise is no different. For decades, viewers have been relentlessly attacking Star Wars performers and creators, with a renewed push against TV shows like The Acolyte demonstrating the venom with which a particular set of audience members scrutinise everyone's favourite galaxy. The vitriol of these persistent voices has subsequently spread throughout the internet, making it feel impossible to say anything positive about Star Wars. Without turning every discussion into a heated debate. Right, okay, sure. Whatever, mate. And then it says further, so the unacceptable abuse that Star Wars prequel-era actor like Ahmed Best... This is true, yeah, true. I agree with that. I agree with all of that. But you can't liken that to what's going on now. Received from fans in the late 90s and early 2000s has been well documented, and since then, negative Star Wars voices have only been amplified by the mainstream spread of social media. Leslie Headland's groundbreaking series has been relentlessly review bombed online because it's shit. The Acolyte, so causing The Acolyte to possess a huge disparity between its positive critical reception and abysmal audience score on aggregate website like Rotten Tomatoes. You ever questioned that maybe those critics were like review bombing positively? No? Of course not. Since the majority of these hate-filled criticisms are either overreactions or alleged continuity errors, that's perfectly justified. What? Within the Star Wars universe or backlash aimed at attacking the show's long overdue inclusivity? What? What? Alright. The bad actors spreading them are clearly spinning controversy out of nothing, and this manufactured outrage can be directly traced back to the demographics of the original trilogy. Are you going to say white people? Is this what you're going to say? The original Star Wars movies were a product of a different time. Yeah, they were. Better storytelling. Given the franchise's current popularity, it's hard to believe that there was ever a time when no one on Earth had ever watched one of George Lucas' Star Wars movies. The first film in the original trilogy, originally just titled Star Wars, upon its 1977 release, was shown to the public during a decade of classic hits like Jaws, Rocky, and it was a time when Hollywood relied almost exclusively on traditional tropes to tell stories exclusively through a Eurocentric white male lens. That's right, when in doubt, blame white men. These losers. Protagonists were almost always portrayed or played up as ultra-masculine tough guys, while supporting cast typically consisted of domestic female characters or problematic stereotypes. And but Billy D. Williams wasn't. He literally ruled an entire city. What are you talking about, you clown? Anyway, and as films released during this insulated time period, the original Star Wars are often construed as possessing a similarly narrow narrative focus. But they're not, though, are they, actually? When you look at it, that's not the case at all. You sound like a moron. Despite taking place in a galaxy far, far away from the filmmaking conventions of Earth, Star Wars' original trilogy features a mostly white cast, female characters with largely unrealised potential, and no LGBTQ+ storylines depicted on screen. That's because it wasn't really that much of a thing back then, funnily enough, you moron. Now we've got an epidemic of it. While powerful female leaders like Mon Mothma and Carrie Fisher's iconic Princess Leia are outspoken forces for good in the trilogy, the latter's relationship with the Force and her father is glossed over in favour of her brother, because that's called twists. You're a moron. You sound like a spaz. What are you doing? And Leia's infamous bikini scene at Jabba's palace in Star Wars Return of the Jedi feels like fodder for a generation of male fantasies. So, who cares? Men like to watch a bit of TNA. They like a bit of tits and arse. So, who cares? What's the issue? They are the majority of the movie-going audience. When women step up and begin dominating the movie-going audience, then they can be catered towards. But when we live in, I don't know, funnily enough, capitalist society, you should probably cater to the majority of people going to watch fucking movies, shouldn't you? You absolute moron. Idiots. Yet the original trilogy's premise feels magical to watch and provided formative memories for many of Star Wars' older fans, creating such an impact on viewers' minds that what many still consider the first three movies the definitive guide to the Star Wars experience. Unfortunately, this mindset's reliance on original trilogy's outdated aesthetic severely limits the understanding of what a Star Wars story can be. You're a moron. Oh, here we go. He's going to talk about all this crap. But let's scroll down a little bit, because this is all nonsense anyway. He's just blaming white men. Of course he is. Talks about Daisy Ridley and John Boyega. Marked important first for the franchise's leads. Yet these casting decisions also resulted in constant online harassment for both actors. No, most people were really supportive of Finn, John Boyega, actually. They were more questioning why Disney chose to, you know, not fulfill the promise of what they'd set that character up to be, which was clearly a Jedi. This weird historical revisionism doesn't work. Flash forward to The Last Jedi's release in 2017, and this online hate reached a fever pitch. Kelly Marie Tran's heartwarming performance as Rose Tico drew the ire of a racist internet horde, causing Tran to quit Instagram. In order to look out for her mental health, Disney admittedly did not handle the backlash well. Pretty certain Disney removed Finn, the character, from the posters for Chinese markets because they're racist. Sure, people were like, what's going on there? Anyway, the future of Star Wars should be focused on representation and inclusivity. Oh yeah, I can't wait for this argument. Thankfully, the most recent installment of Star Wars universe have built upon the franchise's contemporary legacy by including more representative storylines in an age of digital hate. The lesbian relationship between Val Sartha and Cinta Kaz in Andor marks an important step forwards for LGBTQ+ inclusion in Star Wars, as does the relationship between Osha and May's mothers in The Acolyte. That's right, lesbo witches. Likewise, Kelly Marie Tran's 2018 article in the New York Times demonstrates that performers can reclaim their stories by publicly disavowing those who only have the courage to tear others down in private, providing an inspiring example of how actors can stand up to Star Wars' most toxic audience members. As the biggest campaigns against Obi-Wan Kenobi's Moses Ingram, I don't think anyone was really saying anything about that, but alright. And the Acolyte proves Star Wars online hate isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Therefore, it's up to Star Wars creatives to boldly navigate the turbulent waters of the beloved franchise fandom. In a recent interview with New York Times, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy herself acknowledged that women in Star Wars are often subjected to audience attacks because the franchise's vocal male fanbase, as well as espousing her belief that, quote, storytelling needs to be representative of all people. Where's your Muslim storyline then, mate? Where's your disabled storyline then, mate? It doesn't need to be representative of all people. That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. Anyway, there's also some more shit here. But basically they're like, yeah, we're going to create Star Wars content and maneuver around toxic elements. That's right, cool. Most vocal viewers of the franchise wield the power of the internet in order to push a bigoted agenda. Yeah, sure, everyone's just a bigot, mate. Sure, everyone that just dislikes the Acolyte is a bigot, whatever. Thoughts down below? I'd love to hear it. Star Wars? The fans, they're to blame. Somehow. Thoughts down below? Drop it there. Hit subscribe if you're new here. Support me further on Patreon. Cheers, take care. Bye-bye now.